It's an intellectual echo chamber. I'm just kidding. When I really think of Slow Impact, it is a place where you can build community, but more specifically build relationships in a way that benefits all of the communities that all of us are a part of wherever we live when we're not here in Tempe.
Slow Impact to me feels somewhat between a workshop and an academic conference and a skate event. It's pretty free form. There's nothing else like it that I've ever been to. I really love it. It's all my favorite things and all my favorite people.
It's just a weekend-long community discussion, right? I think that's all it is. People talk in there, and then people come out here and talk, and then people go to the skate spot and talk, and then people go to dinner and talk, and it's just it's 4 days of community discussion, essentially.
I come here for the folks who are like-minded and like to think critically about skateboarding and how we can impact the rest of our communities. Also to see what other people do and how I can take little bits of that back to the region that I'm in.
This one definitely feels like a more higher IQ skate event.
And Slow Impact is this perfect way to kind of bring little communities together into this a big grassroots community.
I think what stood out the most is that that skateboarding doesn't often have a space where it's just about listening to each other talk.
I feel connected here. I keep saying I do live in a fairly isolated place in the Pacific Northwest. It's boat access only, and I don't have a crew of skaters. But coming here, it's I feel at home. Like-minded people, lots of wisdom being shared, and I just feel really welcomed. It's been amazing.
Well, yeah, I'm here for Slow Impact, finally. It's the 3rd year and I've been wanting to come. If anyone has been to Pushing Borders, it was the first time that there's this kind of skateboarding conference, and Pushing Borders doesn't happen anymore. So this is the place. This is where you come if you want to connect with a bunch of older skate nerds and just talk about what you're doing and actually find people that care and that understand. And what's really cool is that it's a big mix. So it's got the kind of academic-y panels from people that are doing really interesting work, but then you also have time to skate. You've got art shows, you've got poetry readings. It's got everything. So for me, my favorite parts are definitely in the morning, these paper sessions.
Really, the first paper sessions were pretty mind-blowing. Some of these phrases that came up, Bobby talking about communal mastery.
What do we want the next 50 years to look like? And ultimately, what can we do right now today to make those things happen? And the really awesome thing about that is that you don't have to do it alone. That's why we have communal mastery. If you can build communal mastery, build that feeling of I can accomplish whatever I want to because I belong to a group, and then to also strengthen and make that group healthier, that's how all these benefits and positive residual health outcomes, that's how those things happen. It doesn't happen by just going to the skate park with your headphones in and enjoying the ledge and then leaving. You gotta talk to people, you gotta build a community, you gotta be invested in each other.
I also really enjoyed the talk about not having these behemoth skate parks and instead creating spaces that are inviting and then allowing people to give life to those spaces themselves.
We don't need massive budgets, we don't need full pipes. Less is often more. Small budgets can have a large impact. We don't need much to create a beloved space, and we actually have a tendency to try to pack too much in. Embrace the negative space. Good flat ground makes a difference.
I enjoyed a lot of the papers. I really enjoyed Ashley Rayfeld's paper.
Skateboarding wasn't built in boardrooms with 5-year plans. It was a bunch of 20-year-olds who wanted to make something happen with each other and make something cooler that didn't exist. Hungry 20-year-olds figuring it out with instinct, creativity, stubbornness, probably a lot of ego, and a little bit of luck. But the thing about that is that we're in uncharted territory. And the why part of that is because those same young founders when they were 20 are now 40, 55 plus. And it's not that age is a bad thing. Age is everything. It gives you experience, and that matters, but it's about perspective. And the thing about perspective is that it shapes how we think. And because of that, it shapes what comes next. So at a certain point, we need to recognize the same generation that were once disrupting the system are now the system.
Here we are at Slow Impact. Andrew Reynolds just gave a very informative talk about the construction and ultimately the deconstruction of his shoe.
You know, he normally shows up with a bag of fruit. You guys have probably seen this photo, but this time he showed up with a trash bag. And this trash bag had a slew of our shoes cut up and, you know, shoes he skated over the past couple of years, if not decades ago. And this initial conversation was about why are we building shoes the way we are? What's the importance of certain foams over other foams and construction methods?
I liked how Andrew and the designers kind of like bounced ideas off of each other and like showed how much impact he actually had on making his shoe. I've always kind of wondered how that process works. Like, just because their name's on the shoe, does that mean that they actually are designing it? And it sounds like there's a lot of like input, at least with this one. I thought that was really interesting.
He's a list maker. He kind of runs everything through lists. And he brought this to us, you know, kind of a sketch of what he thought it could be, all the kind of things that he wanted or needed in a shoe at this point in his career.
To actually hear somebody talk about the process of meeting with the shoe company, meeting with the designers. I mean, I see this for so many other sports, but for skateboarding it was particularly interesting. And Reynolds being so detail-oriented, very much obsessive about what he wants in a shoe, that was really interesting to see. Hearing him talk about New Balance, especially in his admission that, hey, time is passing, I'm getting older, I need more comfortable shoes. I like that. I appreciate it. As an older skater, I appreciated that.
I didn't really have any expectations about it. I just kind of was like, I'll skate Tiagos and just skate them. And then can I be on the flow program? That's kind of like where my head was at. You know, I'm just like, I'll just go, and if this works, then maybe we could build towards something. But if not, I did not expect all of this. You know, and going into it, I know he was talking about the list. I wrote down somewhere, if I want to continue this and continue to skate hard and continue to push myself for what I can do at 46 as a skater, I knew I can't do it. I can't do it alone. You know what I mean? I need people to help me, and you guys really did it. Like, it's been amazing, and this is not some, like you were saying, it's not some pitch or something. It's just like New Balance stepped up and took care of me better than anybody would have, and I'm stoked. So.
The thing about the Reynolds panel that stood out, and I've noticed it even in just like the Baker videos, that he's just got a lot of gratitude for skateboarding, and that guy loves it.
But last summer, we were in Chicago with the whole New Balance team for that Thrasher trip, watching Thiago Lemos do the most fucked up 40-foot switchback tail on like a 22-inch high ledge, like nothing. And Andrew looks over at me and he goes, "Man, we're so lucky to be here." And I was like, you know what, Andrew Reynolds, we are so lucky to be here. So thank you once again for coming out.
Thank you guys, thanks for having us.
Yeah. Please check out the shoe over there.
Yeah, the premiere was really, I was nervous. Both me and Victor were nervous, you know. It's always nervous, like having the first premiere, but it felt like this is the crowd to showcase it to for the first time. And it was received well, and we're really happy about it. And it was like touching to see people like really looking at it and focusing, and then also like the comments afterwards were, warm to the heart for sure.
Yeah, I go to a lot of skate events, I go to trade shows. This is something very different than all of those. This is where you can discuss things and figure out how to make things in the industry and the culture better. And I think the Media one was a great example, like how can we be better, how can we learn from things that are not the greatest. And yeah, the world is changing, skateboarding is changing, and we got to move forward.
This can be a virtuous circle or an echo chamber. And I think we need to move towards creating something that can help everyone. Like there is a way that we can put this together, you know?
Hearing Natalie and like the way she like is an encyclopedia of women's skateboarding.
In 2003, there was a little reunion of Villa Villa Cola, and Lisa showed this footage of security guards pinning Alex White. And they watched this, and it was like a catalyst to do the video, getting nowhere faster. They were like, we have to do this. And they did it, and this time, skateboarding media, like they couldn't ignore it.
Well, the media panel was amazing. Getting Gifted Hater on a panel for the first time ever in his life was incredible. He did great.
You can't work in the industry if you want to cover anything at all. You got to be completely independent, unfortunately, because one of the most common things that I get is people telling me like, dude, like I wish I could say this or whatever. It's like somebody like feeding me information or whatever. There's a lot of good people that work in skateboarding, a lot of really sensible individuals, but like, you know, they work for a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy, and then you can't even say like, you know, you scrape that manual or whatever. So, yeah, everyone's happy over here.
You guys post up together for a sec?
Yeah.
Is this a photo or a video?
Where's this? Oh, this is good.
This is a video, thank you.
So I'm actually just want to, before we go in, just point out this really beautiful like breeze block. You know, as I was walking around Mitchell Park, like you notice that like so many of the little like cinder block houses, like modified, very simplified, like almost ranch style houses are always behind these like breeze block screens. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One, they provide some shade and some privacy. Two, cheap. Terracotta or cast concrete, like very easy to do. And three, it kind of like mediates the space between interior and exterior without creating this walls. Yeah, by the early 20th century, neoclassicism, Greco-Roman inspired architecture was basically the house style of any official building, be it a courthouse, a city hall, a theater, an apartment building, or a university library. So you're already getting this like really eclectic mix of different architectural styles, which again speaks to the polyglot sort of like ununified nature of the ASU campus. And you're moving from like neoclassicism to basically, once again, like the international style of modernism right here. McClintock Hall, I think, is like 1959. And that's when you start to get, just as that other building, that's when you start to get skate spots. You know, like forms like this, these long bands of horizontal windows, but still not much natural light coming in, because what does natural light mean in Arizona? Natural sweltering heat, right? For those of you that like aren't familiar with this like old head skate nerd shit, the Greco crew jeans were boot cut. They were based on a women's flare jean. They had a little hammer embroidered. They had faux distressing, and they had on the underside of the cuff purple polka dots. I was almost 30 when those jeans came out, and I bought a pair, full price at 510 on a trip to California, and immediately regretted it. And every time I see this building, I think of the Jim Greco crew jeans. Yeah. See, like if I were a local at ASU, if I lived in Tempe and I were my age now, this whole like circular thing where there's supposed to be water would be board slid and waxed to fuck. Yeah. This was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright's son-in-law, Wesley Peters, in 1970. And these buildings take as their model, again, like this, I was talking about like the influence of ancient Greece and Rome, like in 1970, no self-respecting architect would put a Corinthian column in like a, you know, like a portico or something like that. Like any reference directly to history would be like verboten. But you do want to reference like the form and the shape and the function of these traditional buildings. So these circular buildings where performances are held do ultimately recall either arenas or the Colosseum in ancient Rome. But this being Arizona, you don't want an open loggia or arcade. You have these little semicircular lintel windows at the very top, following that pattern that we've seen again and again as we walk through the campus.
I wanted to start by taking a moment to thank Ryan and the men's auxiliary of Slow Impact for giving my panel today the same time slot as a women's contest in 2005. So thank you everyone for being here bright and early on a Sunday. Shout out to you!
Literally just came out of the sort of the alternative professional, unprofessional panel with Kristen Ebling, who was a fantastic host and just a really diverse and dynamic group of people. Found it really inspiring. Kava from Bronx Girls Skate had said something about how we should envision our lives as, she articulates it so well, but as a future ancestor. That actually made me cry. It was like so deep and beautiful, and they were all amazing.
Like, we gotta start treating ourselves better, y'all. Like, we really, really do. And I think that as we start to heal our relationships with ourselves, with our inner dialogue, with our inner child, and reckon with the fact that we're also a future ancestor, that like the things that we're doing now are also shaping like the elder we become and the kind of ancestor we become. I think that helps us take on a little bit more sense of accountability with ourselves, with how we talk to ourselves and how we treat our bodies, and thus how we treat people around us.
I came to be on a panel with Kristen Ebling called The Outsiders. We talked about careers in skateboarding that are like, besides being a pro skater, like what other avenues of like income can you attain, like fallback plans, stuff to do like if fucking skating doesn't work out, that kind of shit. And yeah, and creating equity within skating and like sustainability for like a diverse group of people, not just for like certain demographics.
Sam Corman is a writer and editor based in New York. He has written for publications like Art Forum, The Believer, Art in America, and Freeze, covering art, food, and skateboarding.
I have a big secret, which is that Peter is not a skate photographer normally. It's something he actually came to later, and I want to trace that trajectory while we sit up here as two dads in graphic hoodies and a hat.
The panel I liked the most and I was most excited about was the last one now with Sam and Peter.
I love this kind of intersection of like, nature and civilization, let's say, I don't know. But this deer just appears to be drinking out of this stream, but it just happens to be like a storm gutter. So I just remember driving by and shooting that, and then...
You have a whole book about deer.
I did do a whole book about deer. In 2006, there's a book called Buckshots, and it's all photos like that.
It was also a different kind of vibe because it was like just two people having like sort of like a dialogue together with the audience, so it became like a nice storytelling almost from both Sam and Peter, which I thought was a nice way to end the panel talks, really.
I am a huge nerd for all of this. Like, I love learning about the amazing intersections that people are finding with skating, whether it's like art, music, urban design, community work. Like, I just love coming here and meeting and being inspired by all the amazing people.
There's something I like to call the slow impact bump. It seems to me that every year after slow impact, people, they feel a bump, they feel a boost of energy. They decide, hey, I'm gonna get a new job. I'm gonna try something different. I'm gonna skate different. I'm gonna move. Some people decided, I wanna get sober. There's a sense of possibility that comes out of being out here. And I think this year more than ever, people really need that feeling, to feel that they're not alone, but also fun. Like, we like to get into some things that's slow impact, which is great fun.